Get on your knees and apologize, Mira." The words sliced through the elegant wedding venue like a blade. Dark mahogany paneled walls, the soft scent of jasmine floating in the air. Suddenly, all of it turned stifling. Amid the grandeur of a southern mansion where laughter had been preparing for a glamorous celebration, an undercurrent of injustice was about to be exposed. And today, a single act by one woman would shake everything. This wasn't just a wedding. It was a test of dignity. A day meant for love. But could it become the stage where prejudice is stripped bare? Mira Daniels, 35, took the first steps along the gravel path leading into the Westwood estate. To many, this was a symbol of wealth and power. To her, it was a place shackled in invisible chains. Each of her steps carried not just dust, but memories of years spent bent over floors, hands hardened from labor, and eyes trained to stay lowered because of being seen as less. But today, something in her heart had shifted. If you've ever believed small things can't start something bigger, then stay. Because you're about to witness what happens when one person refuses to bow and the entire world must choose where it stands. Are you listening? Tell me, where are you watching from? And when your time comes, will you stand tall or kneel? Morning in Charleston, South Carolina, was drenched in golden sunlight and the drifting fragrance of magnolia blossoms. But for Mira, that sweetness was always laced with the bitterness of duty. At 35, Mira Daniels no longer believed in the dream of changing her life through hard work alone. She had tried, and for 15 years she had served as the housekeeper in the Westwood mansion, a family renowned for their southern real estate empire. She had poured every drop of sweat into securing stability, paying bills, and sending money to her younger brother Joshua, studying engineering in Atlanta. But deep down, she knew her efforts were only ever seen as obligation, never true contribution. That morning, Mira tied her white apron and pulled a tray of hot cornbread from the oven. The scent of melted butter filled the air, mingling with the low hum of the coffee machine. One day before Emily Westwood's wedding, an event promised to be the wedding of the century with 200 guests and a live jazz band performing under the stars. Mira looked at the day's task board: fold linens, polish crystal, confirm florals, coordinate with caterers. Each line felt less like instruction and more like a checkpoint in her long endurance. She didn't complain. Mira was a woman of precision. But Evelyn, the bride's mother, had a different look in her eye that day. No longer just watchful. It was sharp cold, as if she was waiting for one single misstep. And that misstep, it would come. Soon. Mira walked down the hallway, arms full of neatly pressed table linens. A tall glass window to her right reflected the garden workers setting up white tents, laughter echoing as a trumpet player tested notes in the distance. A southern dream woven with white silk champagne and imported roses. But Mira didn't hear music. To her, it sounded like the far-off thumping of a machine powered by resignation. Mira. The sharp voice snapped from behind. Evelyn Westwood stood there, perfectly styled, her expression tight with disapproval. Her silver hair in a taut bun, blue eyes as sharp as a blade. Those linens were supposed to be folded an hour ago. Are you trying to ruin my daughter's wedding? Mira gripped the edges of the fabric a little tighter, her voice even. They are folded, ma'am. I'm bringing them out now. Evelyn didn't reply right away. She just stared at Mira, searching for a flaw, a crack, an excuse to strike. Then she turned her heels, clicking down the hall like a series of warning shots echoing in Mira's chest. Mira placed the linens on the table, each fold aligned like a silent offering of dignity pressed between seams. From across the room, Clara, a 19-year-old maid, whispered cautiously, "Be careful, Miss Mira. She's on edge today. I heard Miss Emily say she's keeping an eye on you. Mira gave a quiet smile but didn't respond. Inside, something was stirring. The linens had been folded, but the insult the wound kept unfolding quietly inside her. The bridal suite glowed beneath a crystal chandelier. Everything sparkled from the bride's lace dress to the polished silverware on display. Mira entered holding the final tablecloth, an ivory damask custom ordered for the signing table where Emily Westwood would seal her marriage vows. She unfolded it carefully, hands moving out of habit trained over years of meticulous service. But a sudden breeze slipped through a cracked window, catching the edge. The cloth fluttered to the floor light as a sigh, but it landed with the weight of thunder. The room fell silent. Mira bent to retrieve it, gently brushing off imagined dust until Evelyn's voice tore through the stillness, no longer irritated, but issuing a sentence. What did you just do? Mira. This is my daughter's wedding. You think you get to be careless here? Emily spun around, her voice icy. You've embarrassed me. If you have any decency, you'll apologize properly. Mira straightened, still holding the cloth, her voice calm. If it caused any disruption. Miss Emily. I'm sorry. I'll fix it now. But Evelyn advanced, her eyes glittering like sharpened glass. Sorry. That's all. No, Mira. Today you'll kneel and ask for forgiveness. In front of everyone. Silence turned heavy as stone. The chandelier shimmered above the bride's hair. Bridesmaids froze. Some turned away. Some watched. No one spoke. Mira gripped the cloth just a little tighter, and then her mother's voice echoed inside like a hymn that had never stopped singing before I'd be a slave. I'll be buried in my grave. She knew the choice before her, and this time she would not bow. The damask cloth remained in Mira's hands, but now it was more than just fabric. It was a symbol of a line drawn. Evelyn Westwood stood so close Mira could smell the perfume clinging to her silk blouse. Her words were sharp and deliberate. You will kneel, Mira. That is the least you can do. Emily stepped forward, her voice rising with cruelty, masked as entitlement. Kneel, or I'll make sure you never work in Charleston again. You're ruining my day. Around them, eh? Bridesmaids held their breath. Some shifted. Some looked away. Mira didn't move. The cloth hung by her side, her voice measured low but unwavering. I've already apologized. I'll correct the mistake, but I don't need to kneel to prove I mean it. Evelyn's laugh came quick and cruel, echoing across the chandelier-lit room. Oh, so you think you're above us now? This is my daughter's wedding. You will show respect our way. Emily snapped. This is your last chance. Kneel, Mira, or you're done. Mira's heart pounded. She thought of the paycheck she needed, the years she had endured, swallowed insults bent without breaking. But this was not about a cloth. This was about power, about stripping away dignity, about control. Her mother's gospel rose again in her soul. Before I'd be a slave. I'll be buried in my grave. Mira raised her eyes. I'm a housekeeper, she said, voice now clear and strong. Not a slave. I will not kneel, not for this and not for who I am. Her words echoed like a bell. A bridesmaid gasped. Another clutched her pearls. But Mira stood tall still and unshaken. You're fired, Evelyn shrieked. Get out of my house, you ungrateful! She stopped the slur unsaid, but hanging thick in the air like smoke. Emily's voice cracked next. Go, Mira. You've ruined everything. Mira didn't argue. She quietly folded the cloth, placed it gently back on the table, a final act of calm in a room now fractured. She turned and walked away, spine straight, hands trembling, but dignity intact. As she passed the doorway, a voice from the corridor whispered, "Miss Mira, you're not alone." It was Aaron, the young server she had seen growing from clumsy teen to dependable staff. His eyes burned with something Mira hadn't seen before: conviction. Each step Mira took echoed down the hallway like a quiet rebellion. Evelyn's voice called for security, but Mira didn't flinch. She had already let go of what could be taken from her, but not of herself. In the kitchen, the scent of cornbread filled the air. It should have felt like failure. Instead, it felt like memory of freedom sung in secret, of strength passed down through generations. She had lost her job, her security, but she had kept something greater: her name, her voice, her fire. Mira barely reached the back kitchen when the door burst open. Aaron rushed in, breath short, eyes blazing. "Miss Mira, come quick. They need to hear it from you." Confused, Mira stepped inside and froze. The entire kitchen staff had gathered: cooks, cleaners, servers, a dozen black and brown faces etched with fatigue and long-forgotten hope. Rosa, the head cook, stood at the center, apron wrinkled in her fists. "Aaron told us," she said, voice a steady anchor. "They told you to kneel. For a cloth." "That ain't right," muttered someone from the back. Rosa stepped closer. "This ain't just about today. It's every name they ever called us. Every tray we carried like we weren't human. Every look, every whisper." Mira tried to speak, but Rosa cut in. "You didn't ask us to stand. But now that you did, we won't sit back." Aaron nodded. "No more cornbread, no more folding napkins. If they want their wedding, they can serve themselves." A murmur spread like fire through dry brush. No food, no service, no wedding. Mira blinked. "You don't have to risk your jobs for me." Rosa's gaze was firm. "This ain't about you. It's about all of us." And just like that, the kitchen emptied, not with chaos, but with purpose. The staff walked out into the sunlight and left the tables bare. Guests fidgeted under white tents. Champagne was warm. Tables were unset. Music faltered, the jazz band confused. "What's going on? Where's the food?" Then Evelyn stormed into the lawn, furious. "Where is everyone?" She spotted Rosa standing calmly with Aaron. "Get back to work, all of you." Rosa didn't move. "We don't work for people who treat Mira like dirt." Gasps, murmurs. From the crowd, a woman in red spoke loudly. "What did she do? Spill wine?" And then a voice no one expected to hear. "Jonathan Hale, the groom." He stepped forward, eyes locked on Evelyn. She dropped a cloth. "Apologized. And you demanded she kneel." He turned to the guests. "They fired her, humiliated her. Because she's black. Because they think they can." Emily tried to stop him. "Jonathan, this is our wedding." "No," he said coldly. "This is a farce. I will not marry into a family that punishes dignity." And he walked away, leaving Emily frozen in lace and Evelyn speechless. Mira, standing at the edge, said nothing, but a wildfire had already begun. By morning, Charleston wasn't talking about the flowers or the band. They were talking about Mira Daniels. A guest had shared the story online. She refused to kneel, and the wedding fell apart. The post went viral. Hashtags surged. #never kneel. How? #stand with Mira. People shared their own stories. From waitresses to warehouse workers, black women across the South echoed one truth: we've all been Mira. At home, Mira sat in silence, watching notifications flash. One message read, "You didn't just stand for yourself. You stood for all of us." Then a knock. Rosa entered holding warm cornbread and hope. "Someone wants to meet you," she said. "A man named Caleb Monroe. Event organizer. Former consultant for the mayor's office. He says he needs someone with your spine." Mira sat quietly, and for the first time in years, she let the idea in. She didn't need to return to serving. She could build something instead. That night, Mira's apartment glowed not from lamps, but from people. Aaron, Rosa, Clara, even neighbors. Rosa raised her glass to the woman who refused to kneel, but Mira raised her hand. "Not just that. I want to do more. I'm starting my own business. A place where no worker ever has to hide who they are. I'm calling it Freedom Events." Cheers erupted. Rosa beamed. "I'll run the kitchen. Nobody in Charleston bakes cornbread like me." Aaron grinned. "I'll help recruit. There's a whole world waiting." Across town, the Westwood estate sat in cold silence. Calls went unanswered. Invitations rescinded. The empire built on image, crumbling. Emily stared at her wedding dress still unworn. She had sent a message to Mira. "I'm sorry. If you'll talk, I'll listen." But Mira hadn't opened it. Not yet. Forgiveness may come, but on her terms. For now she had a company to build, a legacy to shape, a fire to keep burning, and she would do it standing tall for every woman still waiting to rise.